Well, it's the beginning of a new era as King Charles III has been formally proclaimed the United Kingdom's new monarch 2 days after the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen, the longest reigning monarch in British history, died on Thursday at the age of 96. Details in this report.
The world takes a pause from economic woes and war to witness the beginning of an era in the history of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. Charles III has been proclaimed king at a solemn but elaborate ceremony at St. James's Palace. These historic proceedings have never been seen before on camera. The last time these proceedings took place was in 1952, after the death of the Queen's father, King George VI. It was the decision of King Charles III to allow television cameras into the Ascension Council for the first time to allow the public to view proceedings. The accession ceremony saw all 6 leaving former UK Prime Ministers gather to greet the new king and witness the proclamation.
With one voice and consent of tongue and heart, publish and proclaim that the Prince Charles Philip Arthur George is now, by the death of our late sovereign of happy memory, become our only lawful and rightful liege lord, Charles III, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of his other realms and territories, King, Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith, to whom we do acknowledge all faith and obedience with humble affection, beseeching God, by whom kings and queens do reign, to bless his majesty with long and happy years to reign over us. God save the King! God save the King!
The king himself was not present for the first part of the meeting when he was proclaimed monarch by the Ascension Council made up of senior politicians, judges and officials. Taking an oath to preserve the security of the Church of Scotland, a Presbyterian church that is separate from the Church of England, King Charles III paid tribute to his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, and spoke of the great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty passed to him.
My mother gave an example of lifelong love and of selfless service. My mother's reign was unequaled in its duration, its dedication, and its devotion. Even as we grieve, we give thanks for this most faithful life. I shall strive to follow the inspiring example I have been set in upholding constitutional government and to seek the peace, harmony, and prosperity of the peoples of these islands and of the Commonwealth realms and territories throughout the world.
A royal salute, 3 chairs for His Majesty the King. From St. James's Palace in central London to the Royal Exchange in the City of London, crowds echoed "God Save the King" with the band before giving 3 chairs to His Majesty. Further proclamations will be read out across the country in Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales on Sunday.
Welcome back. Joining me now via Zoom to discuss this is the chairman of the British Business Group Nigeria and Global Ambassador of Civets UK, Dr. Onyerinma. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
All right. Now, having reigned for 70 years, how would you describe Queen Elizabeth II? How fulfilling was her life?
Well, I will start by saying that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was a remarkable woman. As you said earlier, the longest serving sovereign in the British history, who demonstrated throughout her life her love and devotion to be of service to her family, to the nation, to the Commonwealth, the world, humanity as a whole. I think of her as the quintessential servant leader who led with such humility and integrity and traversed all the trials and tribulations of life with grace and dignity, and demonstrated throughout her life the importance of unity and honoring traditions. And for me, she always reminded me of humanity, as a daughter, as a sister, an auntie, a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother. But there was something about her, if you've ever seen clips of her, which I think all of us have, she had this air of calm and kindness and a regal nature, and yet gentle and reassuring. And I think all of us have seen her ability to communicate verbally and non-verbally through a small gesture that just spoke volumes. And it's incredible to know that within her reign, we had 15 prime ministers, and 3 of them were women. And recently, not even a week ago, we had Liz Truss take on the premiership. And of course, the Queen was there to get this going. So she's a strong advocate of the monarchy in modern times. And I believe that history will look on her impactful legacy with great kindness, and her determination for excellence and service. Without a doubt, it will be well represented in history.
All right, she was also the rallying point for the Commonwealth of Nations. Do you see the Commonwealth continuing to thrive under the reign of King Charles III?
Well, I think it will. I mean, the Queen placed great emphasis on the Commonwealth of Nations, which is 56 independent countries, where some of them were former colonies, but they're independent countries, and they represent about 2.5 billion people. And the whole premise of the Commonwealth of Nations is working together for prosperity and democracy and peace. And I think since probably 2018, she slowly sort of guided the transition for then Prince Charles to be actively involved with the Commonwealth of Nations. And earlier this year in June, he did speak at the meeting in Kigali, Rwanda. And he did express then that nations had the right to become republics and not to have the king as the head of states. That was legally their right. And that he personally had, personal sorrow for the legacies and the contributions of Britain to slavery. So, he's only become king. The Ascension was yesterday, and I believe that we should give him a chance to see where this goes. There might be some effect from the colonial era that could affect the Commonwealth, but I think it's too soon for us to make that acclamation. But at the same time, I'm absolutely certain that his work over the last 50 years with the Prince's Trust and the Duchy of Cornwall, his environmental work, climate change, all of those things speak volumes, and we probably will see more of that. And it's absolutely apropos at this time in the world, given the things that we're living through.
All right. Finally, before I let you go, I would like to find out what lessons do you think Nigeria can draw from the life of Queen Elizabeth? Sorry about that.
Oh, that's quite all right. Queen Elizabeth. Well, I would say that the lessons all of us can draw, not just Nigeria, is one of purpose and intention. Being dedicated to humanity, living impactful lives, taking actionable steps in what we do, doing the right thing at all times, not because we want to be recognized publicly, but because we have this deep sense of fulfillment within us. Having the ability to adapt to change. I mean, if you're alive, then you're going to experience change. And I think the Queen demonstrated that immensely throughout her life. Showing empathy and compassion towards others, and respect for nature and life. But I think most importantly is a legacy of prosperity, because at the end of the day, it's one thing to have been here, but to make a difference with your life and to impact change and impact the lives of others, because you care, because you love them just as much as you love yourself is most important. And she will be sorely missed.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution, Dr. Amma Onyerinma.
Thank you for honoring the legacy of Her Majesty the Queen. God save the King.
All right. Now let's take a short break and Newsweek continues in a moment. Stay with us.